So I woke up today and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna finish, lock every door, and then I'm gonna finish the other misses and I'm gonna start ACOTAR. And then I realized I go on vacation in 10 days. Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Em and this is my reading circle. So since summer has started, I have been telling myself I'm going to read the ACOTAR series, which is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, her whole entire series. So yesterday I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to binge 2 books, the last 2 books that I have that are outstanding, and I'm going to go ahead and start the ACOTAR series. Then I went ahead and realized that I actually am going on vacation in 10 days, which is fun and exciting, but I don't think I can read multiple hundreds of pages long books in 10 days. So this is the ACOTAR series that I was talking about. The first book is 419 pages, the second is 624, the third is 699, and the novella, which is the 4th one, is 229. That's a grand total of 1,971 pages. So instead of starting the ACOTAR series, I'm going to read as many standalone books from Book of the Month that I possibly can. Let's get into it. So this is my current Book of the Month unread books that I have. I am not affiliated with Book of the Month. I do not have any sponsorships with them. I am just a girl who loves Book of the Month and was very fortunate enough to have my mom go ahead and gift me a subscription for the past year. I just showed you, I have read 0. Yes, you heard it right. I've read none of those books. None of those Book of the Month books have I picked up. I have literally looked at it, thought, oh my gosh, this is a beautiful cover, put it on my shelf. However, I have read 2 books from Book of the Month in the past year. I just didn't include them in that video. So the first book that I want to go ahead and talk about is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This was my first ever Riley Sager book and I honestly fell in love with it. I know this book was very hit or miss for some people, especially if they have been a longtime Riley Sager fan. So this book in particular follows Maggie Holt. She inherits this haunted house and she actually is a kind of like a fixer-upper that you may watch on TV, and she decides that she's going to go ahead and fix up this house and try to resell it. Additionally, she had actually lived in this house growing up, and there was a traumatic thing that had happened and resulted in her family moving and ultimately her parents getting divorced. So she's not only trying to fix it up so she can go ahead and sell the house, but she's also trying to figure out what happened when she was really young to cause this huge, ginormous tragedy to happen in her family. The second book that I read was actually Beach Read by Emily Henry. I read this book right before the school year started last year. This book was okay for me. It was a very realistic romance, which I feel like there are not a lot of books that are very realistic. I feel like some books can be very over the top when it comes to romance and very cheesy, which I tend to love, especially when I'm craving a cheesy rom-com book. However, this book was not it for me, especially since it was overhyped, but nonetheless, I really did enjoy it. Future M here, I actually forgot I read 3 books, not 2. The third one I found, it doesn't have the traditional Book of the Month logo on the side, so I tend to forget that I read it as a Book of the Month choice, but it was In the Holidays by Christina Lauren. It was my first ever Christina Lauren book. It wasn't bad, but I thought it was a little bit overhyped. It was a great Christmas read, but I don't know, it just read more like a movie and I would rather see it on the big screen than read it in a book. I'm currently reading a book of the month pick. I had mentioned it at the beginning of the video and I was like, oh my gosh, I have 2 books outstanding. One of them is on my Kindle, so it is not a book of the month pick, but there is one that is included, and that is this one right here, Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. So this is my second book by Riley Sager that I'm reading, and honestly, it is a very slow burn for me. I'm just not that into it. The older I get, the more I realize I am not a slow burn book kind of gal, especially when it comes to thrillers, which I believe this one is marketed as a thriller mystery combo. I think that this is more leaning on the mystery side of the genre, but nonetheless, it is good so far. However, it did take me 30 chapters before I finally got invested in actually reading all of the books. So hopefully I'll get this one finished and we'll go from there. I have so many books that I'm hoping to complete in the next 10 days. So I may have set the bar too high, but that's okay. What is a challenge if you don't set the bar too high? So I have a ton of books that I have been wanting to read for the past year. They just so happen to be my book of the month selection picks, so I'm hoping to go ahead and prioritize those books over the next 10 days. First, I want to go ahead and finish reading Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. I'm also in a book club, and the book that they are reading is actually The Lost Apothecary for this month, which I just so happen to have. Then some beach-themed vacation-me books that I want to go ahead and read include People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry and Big Summer by Jennifer Werner. So this book actually came out last year. I was really hoping to read it. It was this book and then also Beach Read by Emily Henry, but I never got the chance to read it. I prioritized Beach Read instead of this book. And then I do actually want to read Emily Henry again, since I did enjoy the realistic aspect of Emily Henry's writing. I wanted to go ahead and try out People We Meet on Vacation, which apparently is compared to When Harry Met Sally. I personally have not watched that movie, but regardless, I'm excited to find out what happens in that book. I also want to go ahead and get to another book by Riley Sager, which is The Last Time I Lied. This book actually goes ahead and takes place at a summer camp. And since it's summer and I've been really feeling like thriller summer camp vibes, I figured why not go ahead and make this book a priority. Then I have 3 books that I have been wanting to read for the past year. They are all thrillers. I've actually been wanting to read some of them for the past year and a half, but I didn't get my hands on them until last year. So the first book includes The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. I've heard amazing things about this book. I've also heard some not so amazing things about this book. And then 2 books actually by the same author. So the first one is The Whisper Man and the second one is The Shadows. Both of them are by Alex North. So this is Alex's first book, and then the second book actually does have a mention of things regarding this book. So my best friend is actually reading this book right now as we speak, and she texted me last night and said, you have to prioritize this book. I'm reading it right now. It's so good. It's so fast-paced, just in the first chapter alone. Sign me up. I love fast-paced thrillers, and I figured, why not? I've heard such great things about The Whisper Man. I want to go ahead and read The Shadows as well, so hopefully I like the first one. Otherwise, this one might not be it for me. The last 2 books that I want to go ahead and try to prioritize for the next 10 days, but I'm totally fine if I do not get the chance to get to them, include This Time Next Year by Sophie Cousins. Hopefully I said that right. And then also The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. But regardless, we'll go ahead and see if I even get to them over the next 10 days. I know I picked a lot of books to choose from. Part of that is because I am a mood reader. Depending on my mood, I may want to read a more thriller type book versus a more mystery type book. In other cases, I may gravitate more towards romance or rom-coms or fantasies. It just depends on my mood. I'm gonna go ahead and give myself a lot of options just in case I am feeling one style or genre over another style. Taking a quick break. I am 325 pages into Lock Every Door, Riley Sager. What is happening? What is happening? If you've read this book, please let me know. What is happening? And just like that, first book is done. Hey friends, just want to give you an update. Today is Monday. I leave on Friday for my vacation. I have finished one book and I have started 2 other books, so I will let you know what those are real quick. I am reading People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, and then The Whisper Man by Alex North. Both of them are fantastic so far. This is the perfect rom-com that I need right now, and it's talking about vacations every single chapter, which I'm gearing up for a vacation, so it's making me super excited. And then this one is giving me very much Criminal Minds vibes, which I'm watching that TV series right now for the first time, and it's pretty good as a comparison. I did want to go ahead and say though that I got my book of the month for June. I'm going to quickly open it up to show you guys what book I got this month. Okay, so here's my book of the month box. We'll go ahead and quickly open this bad boy up. Oh my gosh. The famous bookmark that we get every month. I love having the last word. So this is the book that I got, Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've never read anything by her before, and I'm very happy that this was the selection for June that I was able to go ahead and swoop up. But I'll try to read this for this vlog. I only have a few more days left before I leave for vacation, so I'm probably not going to be able to get to it this go around, but hopefully whenever I come back from vacation, I'll be able to read it, if not by the end of the month. So let's get back into it. Finished this book, absolutely loved it. So happy. Starting to have a little bit of a book hangover, which is not good because I need to read more books in the next few days, but so happy with this, so happy. I'm so frustrated. So I finished People We Meet on Vacation, went on an errand, came back home, and I'm reading The Whisper Man. I read like 30 pages and I'm just not engrossed in the book as I was when I first started it. I had taken a break so then I could read it at the same time as my friend, but I'm having a major book hangover from People We Meet on Vacation. It was just such a good story, and now the vibe of The Whisper Man is just not what I'm going for right now, and I'm trying to see if I have any other books from Book of the Month that I could go ahead and read in the meantime. So I'm considering maybe starting Malibu Rising. I don't know, I was looking at all of them that I have. Maybe I'll read this time next year, but I also checked on Goodreads and those reviews weren't like as good, which I mean, everybody can have their own opinion on a book. It's not that big of a deal, but oh my gosh. The Whisper Man is just giving me like major Criminal Minds vibes, which is fine, but I'm already watching that as a TV series and I just want something different. So, and we'll see what happens. A few more days left. Okay, sorry about the fan noise in the background. I told myself I would get to 150 pages and then I would switch to another book, and oh my gosh, finally picked up that I'm reading The Whisper Man, 150 pages in now. Things are picking up. I think I'm gonna go ahead and stick with this book instead of switching to a new one. So here we go. Let's try to finish this bad boy up. Finished another book, Whisper Man, Alex North. It was okay. I enjoyed it. I think it was overhyped. I don't quite understand why it was scary. People said that it was very atmospheric, which I will go ahead and kind of say, yeah, I agree with. But it was mostly string of consciousness for me as opposed to atmospheric, and it just wasn't that scary. So, but it was an interesting police procedural, kind of different from what I'm used to reading. So yeah, definitely happy that I finally read it, but not worth the hype. It's the day before vacation, woo! So, as you guys know, the past 10 days, I've been trying to read as many books that I can, specifically my book of the month books, because they were growing bigger than I could go ahead and read them. So, without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys my stats. I was able to finish one book, which just so happened to be a book of the month book, and then read start to finish 2 books. The reason I stopped after the last book is because I am in a reading slump right now. And if you don't know what a reading slump is, that just means that you read a book that mentally exhausted you in one way or another. Either it wasn't that good or it was just like a heavy topic. It can really just depend for everybody. For me, the ending was a little heavy in a not that I couldn't handle it type way, but in a did you really just write this whole book and then end the way that you did sort of way. And for me, I just felt like I couldn't read any more books because I'm in a slump. No other books sound good right now, especially for my book of the month book. But for me, I just was like, you know what? I'm not gonna try to read any more books. I am exhausted with reading thrillers right now. That was the one that got me into a slump. I didn't see any romances for my book of the month stacks that tickled my fancy. And then I was like, you know what? I just wanna read fantasy right now, which is not in my TBR for book of the month. So that's totally fine. We all get into slumps. I'm hoping that this is a short slump for me. Hopefully I'll be able to read some good books on vacation. And if not, I'm just gonna have to see what happens in the future. But without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and say the books that I read. So the one that I finished was Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. The ending was so good. So I was supposed to read this with one of my friends on Bookstagram a few months ago, but because of finals, I had a really difficult time trying to get into it because I needed to go ahead and focus on my finals. So the first half or so of the book is very slow for me, and I am not a slow burn type of person, but once we got through that halfway mark, the rest of the book was fan-freaking-tastic. I just really needed to push through that first half. But yeah, this is a very hit or miss type of book for people. I think it's because of the slow burn. I didn't necessarily get the haunted vibes that I had seen some book reviewers put on, but regardless, it was a great book, and I'm happy that I finally got the chance to finish it. The first book that I read start to finish, People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I adored this book. I am normally not a friends to lover type of person. I prefer enemies to lovers whenever I read romance books, but this was the perfect amount of timeline and actually learning about Alex and Poppy's relationship. Like, you actually got to see them from the beginning and then see them in present day and see where things went wrong, how things fell apart, and how they were able to rekindle not only their friendship, but spoiler alert, this is a friends to lovers romance book. But yeah, highly recommend. I preferred it so much more over Beach Read. I just absolutely adored Poppy and Alex, but yeah, this was a 10 out of 10 book for me, and one that I'm pleasantly surprised that I enjoyed. Well, it looks like we're getting some kitten cam real quick, but the last book that I read that ended up putting me in a reading slump was Whisper Man by Alex North. For me, this book was just way overhyped. People said that it was really scary. I did not think it was scary. People also had said that the ambiance of it was fantastic, but I thought that it read more of a stream of consciousness. So for me, I didn't necessarily get that ambiance. I am just disappointed. It was a great book, don't get me wrong. Like, it read really well, but the hype around it made it seem like it was going to be this spectacular thing, and it just fell short off of that mark for me. The ending, I have a lot of thoughts, I have a lot of feelings, but that's not what this vlog was for. This This one was supposed to just see how many books I could go ahead and read. I will probably talk about this in another video, but yeah, overall, it didn't do it for me. All right, guys, thank you so much for spending the last 10 days with me trying to read as many books as I can, specifically Book of the Month books, before I leave for vacation. If you have any video recommendations, please let me know. If you have any books that you have read that you want to recommend to me, please drop them down in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!